Sid, you and I have been talking about it all week. All the shows, they've been focusing on it. The GM and coaching moves. Wow. Like there's so much stuff that's been going on. Sid, where do you want to start, man?
Man, well, let's start with what just happened. So within the last hour, we just got a new head coach hired. The Giants went ahead and hired Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for the Bills. So that one's checked off the list. I had in the detective movies where they got the big old map and they got strings drawings everywhere. That's what I felt like I had going on with all these coaches interviewing with all these other teams. It's like,
right.
All right, well, now Daboll's gone, so I got to cross him off.
Take him out, right.
But like, yeah, I mean, so that one just happened. That crosses him off the list for a few other teams. I think that's a big hire for them. He's definitely one of the sought-after candidates. A lot of teams wanted him. So Giants got a good guy. I think they don't have I don't think they have the players, but they got their coach at least. Right. Yeah, more money. That's the problem.
Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're like in the negatives.
Yeah, they're like negative 20 million in cap or something like that. It's a mess over there. Yeah, exactly.
Let's go, Ash. You said it right. So what else we got going out there, man?
All right, so he was the brand new one. The other ones that have been hired, the Broncos got Nathaniel Hackett. He was the Packers offensive coordinator, which is a lot of people are trying to link Aaron Rodgers there. Like I said, Steelers were number 2 for the odds for Aaron Rodgers. Broncos are that number 1 team right now. So we'll see if that ends up being where he goes. He does have a lot of ties, obviously, being the offensive coordinator. So that one's there. The Bears have hired their guys. They got the Poles as their GM. I thought what was really cool is he played for them. He was an offensive lineman for the Bears. Now he's a GM for them. That's pretty awesome. And then Heberflus, the defensive coordinator from the Colts, came over. The Colts have had a great defense, so I think it's a good hire. I know David was talking about how the league is so offensive-minded now, but I still like a good defensive guy. Mike Tomlin's a defensive guy, so I have nothing against defensive coaches.
Real quick, how many losing seasons has Mike Tomlin had?
Big one. Big old 0.
Go with the defense. Let's go.
Exactly. And then, as long as they get a good offensive coordinator, which I've heard they're trying to get Pep Hamilton in there. Hamilton's a guy that's been around a lot. He's been in the Chargers, the Texans. A lot of people high praises for him. So if they get him, I think that's a good hire. So that's it for who has been hired. Now we can jump into the openings and kind of who the finalists are or who's on the list. And right now, let's go with the shortest list. Right now, the Jaguars have one name. That's it. Byron Leftwich.
Yes, sir.
They haven't hired him yet, so something's still up in the air. And everything I've read and seen is he wants their current GM fired, and he wants Adrian Wilson, who's
that's what I've heard,
the VP of personnel for the Cardinals, to be brought over as the GM, which is it's kind of wild for a head coach, not even a head coach yet, to be demanding the GM
right
brought in his own. So
interesting, but Jacksonville, they're that desperate, right? They'd make that move. I mean,
I think if you want Leftwich, you give him what he wants. And I've heard that not a lot of players like the current GM either. So it might be just best interest of them to do it. But because they haven't yet, it kind of leaves the door open like, he may not be the guy. And so now the Saints have reached out and requested an interview with Byron Leftwich too. I mean, if they wait too long and let somebody else hire him, which is actually what happened with Daboll. Brian Daboll was a finalist for the Dolphins. And he was supposed to be interviewed next week with the other 2 candidates that are finalists, and obviously he can't now because he's been hired. So if the Jags drag their feet, that could spell trouble for who they want. And then, so since we've talked about the Saints, right now they've requested for Byron Leftwich to be interviewed. They've interviewed Brian Flores, and then their defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, he's the one that stepped in when Sean Payton had COVID. He's actually their current front runner for their head coach. Nobody's been hired yet, but that's the list I got there for them.
Okay. No, you mentioned Sean Payton. We know, what they says. Not necessarily retiring, but definitely plans to not coach in 2022. I know somebody in your household has been hoping he comes here, but you have McCarthy, Ash. So you don't need him. All right. You have a great coach.
Coming from a Washington fan.
Right. He's great in our mind. Let's go.
Right. I mean, the Cowboys did have some good news coaching wise because they're keeping Dan Quinn. That was massive. Exactly. He was a head coach candidate for 4 different teams. So them hanging on to him and signing him to an extension, that's a big deal for the Cowboys there.
Absolutely is. And you know what's funny though? I liked Dan Quinn. I liked him when he was in Atlanta, and I liked him even when he stepped in. And I was listening to Colin Cowherd or one of those guys, and they were talking about, maybe Jerry doesn't like the fact that Dan Quinn came on and hat was backwards.
Yep.
He's slapping people on the butt, slapping them on the helmet. I'll play for that guy. Like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean?
His resume is awesome. He was the defensive coordinator for the Legion of Boom, and then he was I know the Falcons ended bad, but he had them in the Super Bowl just a few years ago. So I never got the knock on him. I think he's good. So that's definitely massive for the Cowboys to keep him around, especially because their offensive coordinator is up for 4 head coaching jobs as well. So they might have to replace him. Speaking of, he is actually one of the 2 finalists now for the Dolphins. Since Daboll's no longer there, it's between him and Mike McDaniels. He's the San Francisco offensive coordinator. Okay. So they're waiting until next week to decide who they wanted, and that's why the Giants were able to jump on Daboll before they got a chance. So that's who the Finns are looking at. And then looks like after that, the Raiders, this one Kate will like, the Raiders were tied to Jim Harbaugh for a long time. It's come out that the Raiders have no interest in Jim Harbaugh. That was a one-sided thing from Jim Harbaugh wanting to be the Raiders. The finalist for the Raiders head coaching job right now, their main target anyway, is Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. He's also been a head coach before, but hasn't had a lot of success. So he went back to the Patriots, and he's dominated there. So he's obviously up for a lot of head coaching positions again, and he's the Raiders' top guy. But little thing I found while I was doing all my research on these guys, that's kind of funny. So because Josh McDaniels, Brian Flores, a number of other guys that are head coaches throughout the league are all from the Bill Belichick tree, been offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. Yeah. Now, a funny thing about that, they have a combined winning percentage of 41%. So they don't have success. There's been 27 seasons with somebody from the Belichick tree as a head coach. 5 of them have made the playoffs. It's kind of wild. So, I mean, they do great for under Bill. Then they go elsewhere, and they just can't do it. And so
they can't do it.
I'm not sure why, but that's something to
look out for, too. I think it's similar to, Saban. You know how none of the coaches can beat him. None of his assistants can beat him. It's like you tell these guys just enough to succeed or get a job elsewhere, but it's that's it. I'm not going to tell you all the secret sauce.
Right. And I'm almost curious, if they go in, because Bill's got that hardcore, you're going to do this and it's going to suck, but we're going to win mentality. Right. And if they go in and they try and do that, and they're like, you don't have any pedigree to stand on to tell me that I'm going to bust. And then if we lose right away, I ain't listening to you type thing. So I almost wonder if that's what's going on. I don't know. It's wild though that nobody has success coming off of them.
Yeah, being in love with a woman that is a diehard Lions fan, and seeing all the hype when Patricia came over, and I'll never forget the first game I saw him. He comes in with the hat and the pencil in there. And they're like, "Oh, he's gonna do it." I'm like, "Wait, that pencil's not gonna help him." The pencil doesn't play. Well, they're still the Lions, guys. They're still the Lions. Right. So he's not teaching them something. McDaniels, I think, isn't Josh McDaniels the only one that beat them? Didn't he beat Belichick once? Yeah,
he might have.
Like the Broncos, I think he beat him once, but I think he's the only one that's had any kind of real success against Bill.
Right. Yeah, it hasn't been a lot, and it's it's funny. Every time I think of Josh McDaniels, I get a little hesitant because he accepted the Colts job a couple of years ago. Remember? Oh, yeah. He accepted the head coaching job before he even got on the plane. He turned it down. So he was announced as the head coach. He was supposed to fly down and do his interview, and then it came out. He's like, nope, turned down the job, and he stayed in New England. And it's kind of funny. So Matt Eberflus, I think his first name's Matt Heberflus, the defensive coordinator for the Colts that just got hired as the Bears, was hired under Josh McDaniels. Oh, when that happened in the 2-day overlap,
Yeah.
and then just stuck for the next head coach. But it wasn't supposed to be like it was a wild little that's what I think of anytime I think of Josh McDaniels, how he kind of did the Colts dirty there.
Dirty. Right. Yo, Josh McDaniels, come on. We'll see. He I don't think he's gonna get from under the umbrella of Belichick anytime soon. Like that's where he's had all of his success. Not most of his all of his success.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, because yep.
Here's a question by Nathan. Do you think Anthony Lynn is a good offensive coordinator?
I think he's a better offensive coordinator than head coach. He had all the talent in the world with the Chargers and couldn't win.
Yep.
So it's at some point you got to put that on him. I think he's a good offensive coordinator though. Yeah.
He's very conservative with his offense because, like you said, he had Herbert, but it just wasn't. You see the offense this year as opposed to what it was last year, and it's just like, wow, they came out immediately. We took that L against them the first week of the season, but they came out flying, ready to go. Herbert's that guy, so we'll see. Hopefully, he gets a position though.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get a head coaching job, but I think he's going to be all right as a coordinator. He's one of the ones that if he stays as a coordinator long enough and they always come back around. This is what happens all the time. Coaches get recycled, unfortunately. I don't know why but that's the thing the NFL does. Is just recycle old guys.
Yeah, right. And it's just this revolving door, in and out. One more coaching question from Nathan. How do you feel about Dan Campbell taking over the play calling?
They looked a lot better when Dan Campbell did take over the play calls. I don't know if that's just the emergence of everybody getting used to the offense and Amon-Ra St. Brown coming around.
Yes.
But they definitely looked better with him calling the plays once he took over. So, maybe we'll see if that continues going forward.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm definitely excited to see what happens. Is there any other news? Flores, is he?
So he has interviewed for the Saints. He is interviewing for the Texans. He was on the Giants finalist list, and that's all I have him for right now. So there are two more teams, but the other two teams are like, they have so many candidates. It's like, I'm not really sure they've narrowed anything down yet. Like the Texans, they've done Flores, Joe Lombardi, who's the Chargers offensive coordinator. They interviewed Hines Ward. He's a college coach right now, but he played for the Steelers for a long time. Jonathan Gannon, he's the Eagles defensive coordinator. And then Josh McCown, the old backup quarterback for 18 years. He's one of their top candidates for the Texans job. So that one's, I think, the most common name I've seen. And then for the Vikings, their list is like 8 people deep. They got Todd Bowles, the coordinator for the Bucks, I believe, right now. Yeah. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Kevin O'Connell, the Rams offensive coordinator. Jonathan Gannon as well, the Eagles defensive coordinator. D'Amico Ryan, the Niners defensive coordinator.
Right, yeah.
Yep. Raheem Morris, who was a head coach as well, Rams defensive coordinator now. And then Patrick Graham, the Giants defensive coordinator. The Steelers interviewed him to replace our defensive coordinator because ours retired. So Patrick Graham apparently, which is wild to me because the Giants didn't have a very good team, but apparently he's very well respected and a lot of people like him. And they said the Giants would have been a lot worse if they didn't have him. I don't know how you get much worse, but
we're about to say a lot worse. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know everything I saw, but he's up for the Vikings head coach job. We interviewed him for defensive coordinator. And then the last one, the Steelers also GM is retiring after the draft. So we're going to be in the GM search as well.
This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting, but I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love this. Because it's like you said, it's that big board where you're just drawing lines and just
so much.
Where are these guys going? Who's going where? Who's doing what? And a lot of that has to do with a lot of the free agents that are going to go wherever they go.
I was going to say another big thing is Senior Bowl is in this weekend or in the next couple days, and that's a big thing. Like head coaches go down and check that out. So you would think some hirings are going to start happening here in the next couple days, but obviously with a couple of the coordinators being in the playoffs still with the Rams coordinators and the Niners coordinators and all being up for head coaching jobs, they're kind of obviously busy. So take some time for them too.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Hey, yo, and ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, I know most of you that follow us, most of you in the comments have seen my co-host, Mr. Sidney Swinton, on Let's Talk Fantasy Football. He helped me to get to a championship. Didn't win. His wife took me out, swept me that year, but it's all good. It's all right, Ash. It's all right. But, yo, this man is a man after my own heart that loves this time of the year, the draft, the free agents, the speculation of what's going to happen, where people are going. So definitely tune into what we got, because there's going to be a lot of free agent signings, a lot of draft prospects. And I'm really excited to see, when the Senior Bowl and the All-American
Combine.
Yes.
Yep.
So I am so excited to see that, because this is where we really start to find out who's going to be the next, Herbert, Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Michael Parsons, Josh Allen. These guys that maybe you might not have heard of, this is when we find out, what they are, how their stock goes up and or down, where they go. I'm excited about that.
Definitely.
I'm excited. So, yo, we are going. Is there? You got anything else for me?
That's everything for head coaches. I know there's a lot. So,
yeah,
but there's a lot going on. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, so we have got to move on. Moving right along, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to